Welcome to Salon Talks. I am Mary Elizabeth Williams, and the lovely lady next to me is Soleil Moon Frye. She is an actor, a writer, a director, and everything. And of course, now she is back with Punky Brewster, which means that mismatched sneakers are back too.
Yes.
Very exciting. Hi, Soleil.
I
Welcome.
know. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I am so excited about this sweet, lovely show that really speaks to the spirit of the original, but takes it in a 21st century direction. So, for those who have not seen the trailer, why don't you bring us up to date and tell us what has been happening with Punky over since the last time we saw her when she was just a little girl?
Well, I love that it feels like a continuation, you know what I mean? Because now Punky, she's newly single. She was married to this incredible guy played by Freddie Prinze Jr. And there's still all this love there, but they're now divorced and they're raising their kids together. And it's about the messiness of it all and the perfectly imperfect. And she meets this little girl Izzy, who really reminds her so much of herself. And really, through this experience, she starts to really rediscover her punky power. And I love that it's really about how we can come of age at different stages in our life. And I can relate to that so much. And, I always said I didn't know where Punky ended and I began, because we were truly the same in so many ways. And I can say that that is true today as well, And so it was really important for us to keep the authenticity of the original. And where would Punky be now, And who would she be? And where has she traveled? And what adventures has she gone on? And so it's just been a true joy to bring back.
I was wondering about that because I'm sure over the years people have asked you questions about would Punky come back, but also where she would be now, what she would be like as
Yeah.
a woman in the 90s and what she would have been like as a young parent in the early 2000s or whatever the case may have been. Did you think about that over the years and
Yeah. And I
is
mean,
Punky who you thought she would be?
yeah, I literally have wanted to bring Punky back for so long. And the way the stars have aligned to make it happen now is just so mystical and amazing and wonderful. And, and I think we probably had very similar experiences. I think she went on tour and was documenting, musicians and doing her photography and probably living some punk rock lifestyle, going around New York and Chicago. So I have all these ideas of like where she went to. And of course, then she met Travis and he's in a band and, just all of these fun. And I think she really traveled the world and probably documented a lot of parts of the world. And for me, I know, there's parts of the world that are so important to me. I love Haiti. I love spending time there, doing work with the incredible organization that I work with, Core, there and now across the world, So I think there's just so many similarities. And I always think about where she's been and the journey she's been on, and then the journey that I've been on.
And it's so sweet for those who watch the show and watch all of it. I really like that there are some deep cuts for people who watch the original, and there are some really fun cameos and just little references sprinkled throughout that really make it clear for the older people watching the show that this is very much a continuation. And I wanted to say, so like kind of giving it a second thought, I was thinking how important the message of Punky right now is, because she's a survivor. And this show really addresses that. This is a girl who's been through really difficult times, who has had trauma in her life. And that is front and center. And that feels like a really important message for this show to be telling, not just the kids watching it, but the people who grew up with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, when I think back to the original and the things that we dealt with and the ways in which we healed through laughter, but never shied away from topics that were important and going on during the time. And to be able to continue with that same sense of heart means so much to me. And the fact that you see that, and to your point about the survivor within us, I think so much of even Soleil, that inner spark. I used to always associate with youth. You know what I mean? I thought, when I moved to New York and it was like, the world at my fingertips. And then over the years, I'm so blessed to have my 4 incredible children, and I love them so much. And I found myself a few years ago wondering, who am I, Soleil, in addition to my children? And it was really this process of rediscovery. And I think so often we get so absorbed in our lives that sometimes we forget that little girl within or that little boy within, you know what I mean? And so it was really, the show has actually been this very cathartic experience of my rediscovery of self and what it is to be a survivor.
Yeah, and to show that you can go through really difficult things in your early years and still be a really warm and generous and playful person. That it doesn't have to, that the bad things that happen in your life don't have to define you or be your identity. Feels really important.
Well, and you said it so beautifully, I mean, the fact that Punky, was abandoned by her father and left in a shopping center by her mother and had gone through so much, and yet was this spunky, full of life survivor. And I think about the journey that I've been on, and I've had so much love and joy and bliss, and I've also experienced heartache and pain, and yet I wouldn't change a thing, because every one of those experiences has brought me to be the person that I am today, the pain included. So I can only speak for myself, but for myself and my journey, I wouldn't change one part of it.
And I think it's really interesting, because when we think about particularly older shows coming back and revivals, there is this deep sense of, this is comfort for us, this is nostalgia, this is getting us in touch with our childhood, and it feels very cozy. And yet, watching this again, I remembered that, oh yeah, Punky dealt with some really serious stuff. This was a show that devoted an episode to the Challenger disaster.
And so much of our real life experiences we went through, I've always wanted to be an astronaut. I still want to be an astronaut. And so we were watching the Challenger together. And of course, we're devastated, like the entire world was. And I still so wanted to be an astronaut. And so there was an episode that was dealing with both what we were going through in our personal lives and what was going on in the world, and it was so important, and it was so fundamental to the experience, and the amount of amazing people throughout the years that have come up and shared their stories of, not having a home or growing up through their foster system or not coming from a traditional family, and the way in which Punky connected to them and was their family. There's the family that we're born into, and there's the family that we choose, right? And so I love that we were able to do that, and I really hope that we have honored that, in this continuation of Punky, because it's so important to me and to all of us.
And it's so interesting watching it, because there are these storylines that are very serious, and yet they're done with, I think, a real delicacy and a real, they take surprising turns. And I think without giving anything about this season away, some of the most surprising turns have been just the acceptance and ordinariness of things that can be really hard to face.
And I think, to your point, to be able to talk about things around the table as a family or with friends or whoever you can turn to, there are so many things going on in our lives that I think so often get brushed under the rug, or are sometimes difficult to talk about. And I hope that in some way it sheds some light for people to be able to have an open line of communication with their families, or their chosen families, or their friends, or to reach out to someone and express what it is that they're going through.
Soleil, I have to ask you, because you're now coming into this role where you are the adult on a set full of kids.
And yet I am the biggest kid of all. I think everyone has to that.
But like everybody else, I watched the Britney documentary, and we are having this cultural moment of really reckoning with how have we treated our child stars as a culture, and how have they been treated, and how have they turned out, and could we have done better? And I'm wondering now, as you are that grown up on the set, or designated grown up anyway, how much of your childhood experience, for good or bad, do you bring now to your interactions with these kids on the set? What did you learn? What did you think, I want to do that, or I don't want to do that?
Right. Well, to the point of what you were talking about growing up in Los Angeles, I hope you watch also the documentary that I did.
We're going to talk about that.
It really addresses, I think really dives into so many of those elements. As far as the kids are concerned, I was so fortunate that I had such an incredible family and a single mom raising me, who always encouraged me to go to summer camp, always encouraged me to be a kid. I'd come home, I was roller skating. On set, they also created an environment where we could still really be kids, and where that was such a part of the weavings of our experience. So for us, our experience was that in which was created around us. So we were on our pogo sticks, and we were on our scooters, and we were playing. And so our experience really felt like playing make-believe. So I can only speak to what my experience was through that, which was that we had really kind people around us that made sure that we felt safe and protected and loved. Certainly I can speak for myself on that. And I always felt that. And so with working with these incredible kids, for me, it was so important to see them also having fun. And it was wonderful to see them being kids, to see Quinn playing with her dolls and then stepping on stage and just being this incredible actress, and the boys like playing ball outside, and then like being, just seeing them being kids. And I'm such a big kid at heart. So I really hope that I was able to bring some of that, because I think of the kindness of, George Gaines, who I feel is still completely watching over me, he had such a respect. He never spoke down to me. You know what I mean? He was constantly treating me as an equal, which was so incredible at that age. And it stands out so much. Or someone like Andy Gibb, who I was so in love with and so crushed out on. And he was so kind and gentle and loving. And those moments really, they show and they shine and they leave an imprint. I can still smell his cologne, you know what I mean, when I think about Andy Gibb, which I mean is a testament to just the fact that he was so kind and loving. And so I really hope that I can bring kindness and love and nurturing. And also I have so much gratitude to the parents of those kids to share them with me, because that is such a big deal to share your children with another, you know what I mean, in which I'm playing their mom. And so I think it's a real testament to the parents as well.
And it's your co-star, Freddie Prinze Jr. is another person who grew up in Hollywood, who has been part of our lives for many years and was the son of an actor. It feels like that dynamic really plays into your interactions with each other, your chemistry with each other, and this kind of shared foundation and the way that you interact with the kids in the cast.
It's really been such an honor. When we shot the pilot, it was pre-COVID. And so we were able to have a live audience, and it was so amazing. It was like you could hear a pin drop in the live audience, and it just felt like lightning in a bottle. It felt really mystical and just so beautiful, because it was, these are not just characters. These are us. Like Cherry and I constantly are on the phone. We're constantly FaceTiming. We're constantly, there's a real genuine friendship. And I think it shows because we really genuinely love each other so much. And I think those things, come across on the screen when they're coming from a natural place. And at the same time, then when we were shooting during COVID, you know, that scene in the car, we couldn't all be in the car together. So, you know, each one of us was in the car by ourselves, and then they had to put us all to, so literally we were each talking to tape. And it just goes to show the chemistry that we had off camera to be able to like then do a scene like that, you know?
Oh my God, that's amazing. I have to tell you, I did not even think about
Yay!
that. That's the magic of Hollywood, I guess. So you mentioned this before. Tell me about the other big thing that you have coming out now, because I'm excited for that.
Thank you. Kid 90 is premiering on Hulu on March 12th, and really, it's a true coming of age story. I had documented my entire life growing up in the 90s in Los Angeles and then in New York, and I had kept diaries from the time I was 5 years old. I had a tape recorder from the time I was 12 years old. And then I locked it all away at about 20 and didn't open it for 20 years and had just locked it all away in a vault, and ultimately went on this incredible life-changing journey. I tried to make the documentary about everybody but me. And really it became, as I peeled back the onion more and more and more and really dug into the teenage journalist, it became this very personal coming of age story that I hope when people watch, they can see through the lens of their own lives. And it's changed me forever. I opened Pandora's box and discovered this self-awareness and sense of self-love that has been awe-inspiring.
Soleil, blow your horn for a little bit. Tell me who is in this movie, because it's impressive. Go ahead, rattle off some names.
You can say it. You can say it. I interviewed, there's so much amazing found footage. Some of my dear friends that I got to sit and go back and interview are friends like Brian Greene and David Arquette and Stephen Dorff and Mark Paul Gosselaar and Balthazar Getty and Perry and my girlfriend Heather McComb and my lifelong best friend since I was 2, Tori. And also, you know, I had lost some of my closest friends at a really young age. So I think on a subconscious level, I wasn't really ready to go back and watch the tapes. I just didn't realize it because there was so much pain to process through the course of it because some of my friends hadn't, you know, made it out. And so it's really an incredible self-exploration into memory and the blueprint of my life. And I think really ultimately this teenage me, you know, left this chronological blueprint for me to rediscover who I once was and to bring me back home to the artist that I really am.
Can't wait to see it. So, like, I have to ask you one more question.
You can ask me anything.
Oh, okay. Now I think I want to ask something really intimate. What I was going to ask though is, you are 80s fashion icon for a generation. You are also kind of 90s fashion icon. What if you could bring anything back from that era? What would it be?
All of it. I love mixing it up. I'm serious. I am so obsessed with the 80s and my not my new thing, but as I've rediscovered my punky power, I am like all about like the rock and roll t-shirts and the jackets. And I always have my crystals because I'm very much into looking within and the journey of self-discovery and awakenings and my faith. And so, you know, it's a combination of rock and roll and 90s, and I've got my Doc Martens and I've got my punk rock looks and then of course my 80s love. So, and I think you see all of it on Punky, the incredible Mona May, who is such an icon and, you know, created, you know, I mean, she did Clueless and, you know, Romeo and Michelle. I mean, just created so many incredible looks I've had the honor and privilege to work beside. And that's been just a true joy.
It's a lot of fun seeing so much color and vibrance on a TV show again still, and to see that Punky still has all of her punky power and she's discovering some new punky power as well. Soleil Moon Frye, it's just an absolute delight and charm to talk to you. And I'm so excited for this show to be out here, and I can't wait to watch.
Thank you so much. And also, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah, you can add anything.
For anyone that wants to learn about an organization that is so close to my heart, CORE, please check it out. And we have now done over 300,000 vaccinations and over 4.8 million tests for COVID-19 across the country. So I am so honored and humbled to be a part of it. And I would really encourage everyone to check out the work that we're doing.
Soleil, that's unbelievable. Give me a resource. Where can I go to find out?
CORE Response. It was founded by the incredible Ann Lee and Sean Penn, and they have been true warriors with our incredible team. And to see the frontline workers, to see the team doing this, it's just next to my children. It is truly the work that I'm most proud to be a little part of. So I'm just so grateful and humbled. And I know your amazing community is so incredible, and I hope that they'll check it out.
We'll watch Punky, we'll watch Kid 90, and we're going to get involved with CORE Response. Yes. Thank you, Soleil. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Bye.